When we speak of the desires of the heart, we often imagine them as fragile wishes folded away like letters never sent. But they are not so small to God, nor so hidden from His sight. They are living things, these longings of yours, shaped by hope, bruised by disappointment, and yet kept alive by a quiet faith that refuses to die. You may have told yourself that time has made them unreasonable, that the passing of years has rendered them impractical or even selfish, but time has not dulled God's attention. If anything, it has refined it. For God is not hurried by clocks nor intimidated by calendars. He does not look at 2026 as an obstacle, but as a canvas already known to Him in full color and detail. What you call waiting, He calls preparation. What you interpret as silence, He understands as precision. There is a peculiar way in which we learn to distrust our own hearts. We are taught, often with good intentions, to temper expectation, to guard ourselves against disappointment, by lowering hope until it barely breathes. Yet God never asked you to suffocate hope in the name of wisdom. He asked you to trust Him with it. There is a great difference. Trust does not deny the ache of delay, it places that ache into hands strong enough to carry it. And those hands have been carrying you all along, even when you mistook the feeling for abandonment. You have not been forgotten, you have been held. Consider how often we imagine God as reacting to our prayers, as though He were waiting for the correct words or the proper tone before He moved. But God does not respond to prayers the way a clerk responds to requests. He is not persuaded by eloquence nor delayed by weakness. He knows the desires of your heart before you dare to admit them to yourself. He knew them when they were first formed, when they were nothing more than a gentle stirring beneath fear and doubt. He knows why you want what you want, and He knows what those desires would become if placed in your hands too soon. This is not denial, it is care. Sudden miracles often arrive disguised as long seasons of seeming nothing. We imagine the miracle as the moment the door swings open, but we forget that the hinge had to be placed long before the door could ever move. God's work is often hidden not because it is small, but because it is deep. Roots grow in darkness. Muscles strengthen under resistance. Faith matures in the quiet places where applause cannot reach. And then, when the moment comes, it feels sudden only because you are not watching the slow, faithful labor that made it possible. There is a temptation, especially when the calendar turns toward a new year like 2026, to think in terms of spiritual deadlines. We say to ourselves that if God has not answered by now, perhaps He will not. But such thinking assumes that God is constrained by our impatience. He is not late and He is not early. He is exact. The miracle you are praying for does not need your anxiety to arrive on time. It needs your trust to be ready when it does. Trust is not passive resignation, it is active alignment with the truth that God sees what you cannot and knows what you do not. You may feel that your desires have been tested beyond reason. You may feel as though hope itself has become a burden, something you carry rather than something that carries you. Yet even this weariness is not wasted. God is not only interested in granting what you ask, He is shaping who you will be when it arrives. A gift received too early can become a weight rather than a blessing. A miracle given without preparation can confuse rather than heal. God loves you too much to answer in a way that would undo you. When we speak of sudden miracles, we must understand that sudden does not mean without cause. It means without warning to those who were not paying attention to God's quiet consistency. Heaven does not improvise. What feels abrupt to you has been arranged with patience beyond your imagining. The shift you are hoping for may come in a single moment, but that moment will rest upon years of unseen faithfulness, both yours and God's. Every prayer whispered in doubt, every tear shed in private, every decision to trust when it would have been easier to despair has been noticed. God knows the desires of your heart, not as a list of demands, but as a story. He sees how each longing connects to your calling, how each hope shapes your character. Some desires He will fulfill exactly as you imagined, and others He will fulfill in ways so much better that you will later wonder why you ever wanted the smaller version. This is not because your desires were wrong, but because your imagination was limited. God's answers often surprise us not because they are strange, but because they are generous. There is also this to be said: waiting has a way of stripping away false desires, leaving behind only what is true. What remains after endurance is often what God intended all along. You may look back and realize that some things you begged for in earlier years would have broken you if they had come then. You may see that what you thought was delay was in fact protection. God does not tease his children with hope. He refines hope until it can withstand. Fulfillment. Trusting God for sudden miracles in 2026 does not mean ignoring reality. It means seeing reality through a larger lens. It means acknowledging the obstacles without enthroning them. It means believing that God can work through natural processes and still produce supernatural outcomes. A miracle does not always violate the ordinary. Sometimes it redeems it. The ordinary days you are living now may be the very means by which God is arranging the extraordinary. You are not behind. You are not overlooked. You are not disqualified by the time it has taken. God's understanding of time is not a straight line, but a completed story. He sees the end from the beginning, not as a prediction, but as knowledge. Your future is not uncertain to him. That is why he can ask you to trust him now, before you see anything change. Faith is not blindness, it is agreement with God's perspective over your own limited view. There is a quiet courage required to keep believing when nothing seems to be happening. It is far easier to believe when evidence is abundant. But faith that waits is faith that has learned to rest in God's character rather than his immediacy. You are learning, perhaps unwillingly, that God is good even when he is not obvious. This lesson, once learned, becomes a foundation that cannot be shaken by circumstance. As 2026 approaches, you may feel a stirring of renewed expectation mixed with the fear of disappointment. Bring both to God. He is not offended by your honorable Esti. He is not surprised by your hesitation. He knows how many times you have hoped and how many times you have been let down. He knows the precise weight of your heart. And still, he invites you to trust him, not because trusting is easy, but because he is trustworthy. Sudden miracles often come after long obedience in the same direction. They arrive when faith has been stretched thin but not broken. They appear when you have almost convinced yourself to stop expecting, and then something shifts, not because you finally figured it out, but because the time was right. God's timing is not a puzzle to be solved. It is a relationship to be trusted. You may think that your desires are too specific, too personal, too small, or too large. But God is not intimidated by detail, nor bored by repetition. He listens with patience that does not wear out. He remembers prayers you have forgotten. He honors faith that has survived doubt. When he moves, he often does so in ways that make it clear that it could only have been him, so that gratitude replaces anxiety and peace replaces striving. It is possible that the miracle you are waiting for will not simply change your circumstances, but will change you so deeply that your circumstances no longer define you. God's greatest works are often internal before they are external. A heart made whole can recognize a miracle when it arrives, rather than mistaking it for coincidence or luck. God prepares the receiver as carefully as he prepares the gift. Do not measure God's faithfulness by the speed of his answers. Measure it by the consistency of his presence. He has been with you in every season, even the ones you would rather forget. He has been shaping resilience, deepening compassion, and teaching you to lean on him rather than on outcomes. These are not secondary blessings, they are essential ones. When the shift comes, and it will come, you may find that it arrives quietly at first, like light creeping into a dark room before you realize the sun has risen. Or it may arrive with such force that you can scarcely take it in. Either way, it will not be random. It will be the continuation of a story God has been writing with care and intention. You will see connections you did not notice before, prayers answered in layers rather than lines. For now, you are invited to live in expectation without obsession, in hope without pressure. You are invited to trust that God knows exactly what he is doing with your desires, even when you do not. The miracle does not depend on your ability to predict it. but on God's faithfulness to complete what He has begun. And so you continue, not because you are certain of how things will unfold, but because you are increasingly certain of who holds the unfolding in His hands. And as you walk forward into days that still feel unresolved, you may begin to sense a subtle change, not yet in circumstances, but in the way your heart responds to the waiting, as though trust itself is becoming lighter, less forced, more natural, and you realize that even now, something is already moving beneath the surface, something aligning, something preparing to break through in a way that will one day make sense of every quiet, patient step you took when all you could do was believe that God, who knows the desires of your heart, was still at work, even as you whispered your hopes into the unseen and chose once again to trust Him for what was coming next, for the moment when the ordinary would finally give way to the extraordinary, and the waiting would reveal that it had never been empty at all, but full of purpose that was only now beginning to unfold as you stand on the threshold of what feels like change, holding on to faith, not as a last resort, but as a living confidence that what God has promised is nearer than you think, closer than it appears, already forming its shape just beyond what your eyes can yet perceive, as though heaven itself is leaning forward, ready to move at precisely the right moment, when your heart is steady enough to receive what has been prepared for you all along, and you find yourself still walking, still trusting, still believing, even as the story continues to open in ways you have not yet imagined and are only now beginning to sense as a gentle but undeniable pull toward what lies ahead, drawing you onward into the days that remain unwritten and waiting to be revealed as you continue to trust, to hope, to believe, and to step forward into the unknown with a heart that is learning, perhaps for the first time, how to rest in the certainty that God has not missed a single detail, not a single prayer, not a single tear, and that even now, as you breathe and listen and wait, there is more unfolding than you can see, more aligning than you can measure, more grace at work than you can yet fully understand. And so you remain here in this moment, neither finished nor concluded, but moving steadily forward, held by a promise that has not yet reached its full expression, and a faith that continues to rise, quietly, faithfully, toward what is still to come, as though the very air around you is thick with intention, and even the pauses in your life are pregnant with meaning. There are moments when nothing seems to happen, yet everything is happening all at once beneath the surface, like seeds breaking open underground where no eye can witness the struggle. You may wonder why faith often feels quieter than fear, why doubt seems louder than hope, but noise has never been the measure of truth. The most important things often arrive softly, so softly that they can be missed by those who demand spectacle before belief. God does not shout because He does not need to compete. What He builds lasts, and what lasts is rarely rushed. You have learned, perhaps without realizing it, that trust is not the absence of questions, but the refusal to let questions have the final word. There are questions you carry that have not yet been answered, and some that may never be answered in the way you expect. Yet unanswered questions are not evidence of abandonment. They are often invitations into deeper dependence. God is less concerned with satisfying your curiosity than with shaping your confidence in Him. Confidence not in outcomes, but in His nature. When you know who He is, you can wait without despair and hope without desperation. There is a subtle transformation that occurs when waiting becomes worship rather than resistance. At first, waiting feels like punishment, like a door closed in your face. Over time, if you remain honest and open, waiting becomes a place of encounter. You begin to notice God not only in the answers you long for, but in the strength you did not know you had, in the clarity that emerges slowly, in the quiet courage that grows without applause. You begin to see that God has been teaching you to walk without leaning on immediate reassurance, to trust without constant confirmation. The heart is a curious thing. It can hold faith and fear at the same time, hope and exhaustion in the same breath. God knows this about you. He is not waiting for you to become flawless before He acts. He works with what is real, not with what is ideal. He meets you where you are, not where you pretend to be. The desires of your heart are known to Him in their purest form, beyond the clutter of insecurity and the distortions of disappointment. He sees what those desires are reaching for beneath the surface, the deeper longing for wholeness, for meaning, for love that does not collapse under pressure. Sometimes what delays us most is not God's timing, but our insistence on understanding it before we trust it. We want a map when God offers a hand. We want assurance when God offers Himself. Yet faith was never meant to be a negotiation. It is a surrender that paradoxically strengthens rather than weakens. When you release your demand to control the timeline, you gain the freedom to live fully in the present moment, where God is always at work. There is also the matter of how miracles reshape identity. You may think you are waiting for circumstances to change, but God is often preparing you for the responsibility of answered prayer. What you desire may place you in positions you have not yet imagined, require wisdom you have not yet developed, or call forth compassion you have not yet learned. God's delays are often mercies disguised as patience. He does not withhold to frustrate. He withholds to complete. You may notice that over time your prayers have changed. Where once they were urgent and specific, now they may be quieter, more surrendered. This is not a sign of fading faith, but of maturing faith. You are learning to trust God not only for what He gives, but for how He gives. You are learning that His ways are not arbitrary, but purposeful, even when they are mysterious. The mystery does not diminish His goodness, it magnifies it. There will be moments when you are tempted to compare your journey with that of others. You will see doors opening for them that remain closed for you, answers arriving quickly where yours seem delayed. Comparison, however, is a poor interpreter of God's faithfulness. God writes individual stories, not copies. What fits one life would overwhelm another. Your path is not a mistake because it is different. It is tailored, intentional, and deeply personal. Sudden miracles often require a heart that has learned patience without bitterness. Bitterness hardens hope, patience softens it. God has been gently removing resentment from your waiting, teaching you to hope without keeping score. This inner work matters more than you realize. When the miracle comes, it will not simply change what you see, it will change how you see. Gratitude will flow more naturally because entitlement has been replaced with humility, and joy will be deeper because it has been tested. There is also a sacredness to not knowing. It keeps you listening, it keeps you praying, it keeps you aware of your need for God rather than confident in your own understanding. Certainty can breed complacency, but trust keeps the heart awake. God is not hiding from you. He is drawing you into a relationship that does not depend on constant clarity. As you move forward, you may feel moments of anticipation that you cannot explain, a sense that something is aligning even though nothing visible has changed. Pay attention to that quiet expectancy. It is often the whisper of hope returning, not because circumstances have shifted, but because your heart has. God restores hope gently, like a healer setting a bone that was broken long ago, careful not to cause unnecessary pain, attentive to every fragile place. You may also find that some doors you once prayed would open no longer interest you. This too is part of God's faithfulness. He does not merely fulfill desires, He refines them. What no longer fits you has quietly fallen away, making room for what will. Loss in this sense is not always subtraction. Sometimes it is preparation. When the miracle finally steps into your life, you may look back and see that God was answering you in stages, not all at once. You will recognize moments you once dismissed as insignificant as crucial turning points. Conversations that seemed ordinary will reveal themselves as divine appointments. Delays that felt cruel will appear merciful in hindsight. This does not mean the waiting was easy, it means it was meaningful. Trusting God in 2026 and beyond does not require you to suppress your humanity. You will still have days of doubt, moments of frustration, seasons when faith feels thin. God is not threatened by this. He is patient with your process because He authored it. He knows that faith grows unevenly, like a living thing responding to light and weather and time. There is a kind of strength that emerges only after endurance. It is quieter than confidence, but far more stable. You may be discovering The's strength now, even if you cannot yet name it. It shows up in your ability to keep going without constant encouragement, to remain kind without recognition, to believe without immediate reward. This strength will serve you well when the miracle comes, grounding you so that joy does not overwhelm wisdom. God's knowledge of your heart includes its limits. He knows how much you can bear, how much you can receive, and when the moment is right. Trusting Him means believing that He will not give you more than you are ready to steward, even if your desire tells you otherwise. Desire sees only the gift. God sees the life that will surround it. You may think of sudden miracles as interruptions, but they are more accurately fulfillments. They complete arcs that began long ago. They answer prayers you prayed before you learned how to articulate them properly. They confirm promises you nearly forgot you were given. When they come, they often carry a sense of recognition, as though something deep within you says, "This is it. This is what all that waiting was for." Until that moment, you are not idle. You are becoming someone who can hold blessing without fear, success without pride, love without anxiety. God's greatest miracle may not be what He gives you, but who you become in the process of trusting Him. This transformation is subtle, cumulative, and easy to overlook, but it is real. There is a peace that begins to settle when you stop trying to force God's hand and start resting in His. This peace does not mean you stop desiring. It means desire no longer controls you. You can want deeply without clinging desperately. You can hope boldly without demanding timelines. This posture of the heart creates space for God to move freely, without resistance born of fear. You may not see the full picture yet, but you are seeing enough to keep going. Faith does not require full visibility. It requires enough light for the next step. God rarely illuminates the entire path at once, not because He is withholding, but because walking step by step keeps you close to Him. Distance breeds illusion, proximity builds trust. As the days continue to unfold, you may notice small signs of change, subtle shifts that hint at something larger. Do not dismiss them. God often announces His movements quietly for those willing to pay attention. These signs are not guarantees to cling to, but reminders that He is active, engaged, and faithful. You are not wrong to hope for sudden miracles. Hope honors God when it is rooted in trust rather than demand. God delights in surprising His children, not to confuse them, but to reveal His generosity. When He moves suddenly, it is often to remind you that what seemed impossible was never beyond His reach. Even now, as you continue forward without clear answers, something within you is stabilizing. Faith is becoming less about emotion and more about conviction. You are learning to trust God's heart even when you cannot trace His hand. This is not a small achievement, it is a profound one. And so you keep walking, not with certainty about outcomes, but with confidence in God's presence. You carry your desires not as burdens, but as offerings, placed gently into hands you have learned to trust. The future remains unwritten to you, but not to Him. Each step you take in faith aligns you more closely with what is already prepared, already timed, already known. You are closer than you think, not necessarily to the event you imagine, but to the fulfillment God intends. Closeness, in God's economy, is measured not by proximity to outcomes, but by alignment of heart. As your heart aligns, the path clarifies, sometimes suddenly, sometimes gradually, always intentionally. And so the story continues, not rushing toward an ending, but unfolding steadily, inviting you to remain present, to remain trusting, to remain open. What lies ahead does not require your perfection, only your willingness. God knows the desires of your heart, not as fragile wishes, but as sacred trusts. And He continues to work, even now, even here, shaping, aligning, preparing. As you move forward into what is still becoming, still forming, still waiting to be revealed in its time, while you remain in motion, believing, trusting, and walking onward into the unfolding days that have yet to show you all they hold. And so you stand here, not at the end of a story, but at the edge of one that is still breathing, still forming, still alive with promise. The waiting you endured was not wasted time, and the silence you feared was never empty. Every desire you carried, every prayer you whispered, every moment you chose trust over despair has been gathered into God's careful keeping. What is coming will not merely answer your hopes, it will redeem your patience, honor your faith, and reveal a goodness far greater than you imagined. When the moment arrives, you will see that nothing was random, nothing delayed without reason, nothing lost without purpose. You will recognize that God knew your heart better than you knew it yourself, and that His timing, though mysterious, was faithful all along. Until that moment fully unfolds, you move forward with quiet confidence, steady trust, and a hope no longer fragile, knowing that the God who planted the desire is the same God who will fulfill it in the right way, at the right time, with a grace that makes every season before it finally, undeniably makes sense.